Namaskar. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce you to the Indian Plumbing Association's Plumb Talk series. As part of Plumb Talk, plumbing industry experts from across the country will be explaining the nuances of plumbing technology in an easy and understandable manner. And this will make plumbing science easier for building industry professionals, engineering and architectural students, as well as the general public to understand the basics of plumbing technology. Let me give you a little background on IPA, which is the apex body of plumbing professionals in India. IPA is now a 29-year-old body started in 1993, currently has 24 chapters working towards redefining plumbing standards in India, tirelessly working towards better plumbing for a healthy living. I therefore request you to please go through the Plumb Talk series, which will be a guide for students, for architectural students, for even current architects and engineers, so that you are able to improve your knowledge on plumbing and ensure that all plumbing installations are installed not only as per codes, but we make sure that whatever water we use, we move towards net zero water and net zero sanitary waste.
Hi everybody, I am Sharat V, Joint Secretary of Indian Plumbing Association. Today, I am very glad that I am addressing you to take you through this chapter on washrooms for differently able. And this has been extracted from a very famous book written by the Indian Plumbing Association. It's called The Guide to Good Plumbing Practices. The washroom should incorporate in its design all the necessary elements necessary to make it user-friendly for the differently abled citizens and the elderly people who frequently use these washrooms. This could be in the built environment, it could be in the public areas, it could be in the private spaces, it could be in your own house, in your own residence, or in a mall, in a hotel. Recently, I was in a bankway. I think it was about a month back, and I could see a person who was differently abled and he wanted to use the washroom. But unfortunately, he couldn't enter the washroom because it was not friendly for him to use that bathroom, because nothing of what we call for the differently abled has been addressed in the bathroom. So it could be in the public areas or within your own residences or in commercial places. You can see that it can be, you must have seen many of that in the malls, in the hospitals, in theaters, that one has to have some facilities for these type of differently abled people. One most and very simple feature for any person who is differently abled is the ease of movement when he enters a washroom. And what is that? It is that the wheelchair should be able to move into the toilet space without any barrier. And to ensure this type of free movement, most important thing in a washroom is the ramp. The ramp, if it is absent, it immediately creates a very big impediment for the wheelchair to be maneuvered into the washroom. The Government of India has made proactive legislation to address the needs of basic services for persons with disabilities. India is a signatory to the Declaration on the Full Participation and Equality of People with Disabilities in the Asia-Pacific region. India also signed the UN Convention on Protection and Promotion of the Rights and Dignity of Persons with Disabilities on the 30th of March 2007, the same day that it opened up for signature. India also ratified the UN Convention on 1st October 2008. In spite of the enabling policies and guidelines at both the national and the state level, there have been challenges faced by the implementers and the service providers because of a lack of appropriate and cost-effective technology options, which are persons with disabilities, what you call as PWD friendly, lack of skills to deal with PWDs, absence of inadequate information on inclusive toilet designs, and so forth. In this context, IPA has always been in the forefront, and it has developed the chapter on a good guide to plumbing practices called as AGGPP to highlight the design standards required for PWDs. Let me take you through the design criteria for the washroom, considering the basic requirement of accommodating a wheelchair and positioning all the fixtures and sanitary ware such as showers, wash basins and WC. The dimensions of the washroom should not be less than 2200 mm by 1750 mm. This is a very important aspect because one has to be more liberal in giving space for accommodating the wheelchair and rest of the movement of a differently abled person. The access to the bathroom, that is through the door, it should also have a minimum width of 900 mm and should preferably be of the sliding type. If it is the frame and shutter type, it should be opening outwards to allow for the free movement within the washroom. Preferably, the entire floor should be at one level without any dips. In case thresholds have to be provided, it should not be more than 13 mm with beveled edges. Beveled edges means you have to have a slight incline in the edges so that the movement of the wheelchair is very smooth and there is no sudden jerk when the person is moving. Coming to the water closet, the seat when open should be 500 mm above the finished floor surface. The flush wall or the flush tank lever should be positioned between 600 mm to 1050 mm above the finished floor, and so preferably you can say that 900 mm could be a better placement. The lever should be easy to operate and it should be so easy that a person can easily operate it with one hand. It is advisable to have the flush mechanism on auto operation with a sensor so he doesn't have to use his hand. He finishes his job and is able to get out of the washroom. In case the WC is enclosed in a cubicle, the dimension of the cubicle should not be less than 1500 mm by 1500 mm. With regards to the wash basin, the most important aspect is the height of positioning of the wash basin, and it should not be more than 750 mm above the finished floor surface. Nowadays, in the market, you are able to get adjustable units which are available. By this, you can move the wash basin up and down to adjust it to a particular person's requirement. The faucet in the wash basin should be automatic sensor based or lever operated. But I would advise that it's better to go for the sensor based because it also helps additionally to save water. Coming to the shower, the minimum dimensions of the shower compartment should be 900 mm by 1500 mm. The cubicle should be equipped with seats so that the person, whenever he wants to sit, can be easily sit, and it should be fixed to the wall and it should be the foldable type so that when open, it doesn't intrude into the space of movement of the person. Handheld showers with 1500 mm hose length should be provided. When it comes to bathtubs, the height of the bathtub should not be more than 380 mm and a clear space of 800 mm should be provided along the length of the tub for the free movement. Here, on the subject of bathtub, I am reminded of an interesting episode. I was scouting hotel rooms for a few guests of mine, and I happened to move into a hotel and he had two categories of rooms. Of course, they were differently priced. When I went to see the room, he asked me a specific question whether the guests are elderly or whether they are from the younger generation. I couldn't understand why this question was. When I entered the bathroom, I could understand the reason for his question. The height of the bathtub, especially the rim, was about 600 mm above the finished floor surface, and you can imagine it is almost impossible for a person to enter into the bathtub without any sort of impediment into the bathtub. Now, that is why we have to be very specific when you are mentioning the height of a bathtub, and it should not be more than 380 mm. In the case of urinals, the rim of the urinal should not be more than 400 mm and the clear space should not be less than 800 mm by 1500 mm. The grab bars, which is another most important element of a washroom, which is generally not provided in a normal type of washrooms. These are meant from the safety point of view of the user. They should be about 35 to 50 mm diameter with a clear gap of 30 mm from the wall. This gap is so that he can easily insert his finger and catch hold of the grab bar. They should be the solid type and should be able to resist a static weight of 150 kg with non-slip finish. So dear friends, you must have been very well apprised by now with all the elements of a properly designed, differently abled washroom. But having said that, there is so much for us to do. It is not only the washrooms, every aspect of life, say for the public transports, everywhere, we have to be more focused on how we make it for the ease of movement for the differently abled people. While I say all this, I am proud to say that there is one apex body which is tirelessly working towards implementation of good plumbing practices. That is the Indian Plumbing Association, which has been bringing plumbing professionals together since 1993. It is redefining the plumbing standards in India. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it was informative and useful. This is Sharat Rao signing off. Wait for our next video on the Plumb Talk series based on a guide to good plumbing practices.